Let's talk things. Okay, so one of the conversations I've been having with my clients in different ways that I think circles this one kind of topic that I wanted to talk about is the focus on a smaller, warmer audience. Um, I think it's not that we don't need reach, it's not that we don't need growth. Obviously, those things are important to keep a business alive and getting in front of new people. However, I think like the reason it's felt like such an alive conversation is because I feel like what we're after is warmth, right? Meaning it would be much better to like slowly grow potentially with more of a smaller, warmer, right fit than a bigger fit. And so that impacts everything from like what content are you putting out to like what kind of ads are you running to what's your funnel to all of those things, right? Um, I think we are less and less in this kind of churn and burn sort of state that the online space has been in for quite some time. And so we've been talking about that a lot. And I think also from a stage of how do you capitalize on like that small, warm piece of your audience instead of feeling like it's just about going and getting more. And like, listen, don't get me wrong. Sometimes data says like we do just need to go get more. But again, even that kind of mentality would impact going to get more because it's not just like go get more. It's like, who do we want? How specific we can be? Like, what do we want to like let in this, like, here's an example. If it was like, cool, we want to continue to grow, but we want smaller, warmer, right? It might be more about getting on like a super niche podcast than having like a super viral reel. Again, I'm just an example. But I do feel like that's something I've been like really focused on with my clients a lot because the warmth is what's converting right now. I think that in an age of AI, we really have to think about like what sets us apart from the robots. And I think a lot of it is warmth in some ways, right? It's not just like what information can we provide. It's like how specific, how detailed, who is our person, all that. And again, this is like nothing new or revolutionary, but I'm just sharing it to say I feel like it's been like a very alive conversation at a lot of different levels, whether someone has a huge audience or, a small audience. I feel like that really matters. And I also think our brains are so trained to write that off. To kind of almost be like, yeah, but only X people, X, like insert whatever thing. Only X people like my thing, or only X people watch my stories, or only X people open my email, right? We're so quick to like write that off. But what we kind of forget is like, but X people are like those warm people sitting in front of you that are like watching all your shit and engaging with you. So another version of this that I would give the example of, I think I talked about this last week a bit with Substack and like some of my clients being like really focused on Substack, like they don't have even like 5,000 subscribers or something on there. But what they do have is people that are willing to read like an in-depth article from them. That is totally different than someone who like consumes 3 seconds of your 5 second reel, right? And this is not a conversation about jumping platforms. That's not what I mean. I'm just trying to say like that's the example of like it's not about a number, it's about like the level of like warmth and engagement there, right? If I read someone's whatever 2,000 word article, my connection to them and my likelihood of buying is completely different at that point. And so I just say that to say, like, yes, absolutely focus on growth again, like that is required for a business, but don't focus on it so much that you lose sight of the people that are in front of you. Like, even if you had 20 people a week reading that really long form thing and they read the whole thing, guess what? You could sustain a pretty successful business off of that for a minute, right? And then if you grew 20 and 20 more and 20 more, like, we really don't want to get in this place where we make the humans in front of us not count as humans, or where we don't take the nuance of like, hey, is 2 seconds of them watching a video better than, or whatever, 2 seconds of 1,000 people watching a video better than 20 people reading an article that took them 15 minutes to read. Like, these are just things we have to think about, that I think are really important. Hi, tonight. Thank you for being here. So that's one conversation I'm having with clients on a lot of different levels. So another example of that would be like, uh, uh, what am I trying to say? Like a paid training or something like that. Again, like, would it be better to have a smaller, warmer, really engaged set of people in a paid training than to have a huge amount of people that we like shove in through ads into a free thing? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on your business, but like sometimes the answer is unequivocally yes. And so just things that I would say think about, and that I feel like are getting talked about like on a lot of different levels. Um, the next thing I would say, and it kind of is somewhat related to that, is, oh, hold on, my screen just did something weird, is more specific targeting is also something that we've been doing with a lot of my clients. So, I think like, let's just say like standard launch kind of thing would be like you email your list a bunch of things. Some people click, maybe the clicks get one or two extra emails, and that's that. Or you're just launching to a small set of like people that whatever watch your webinar and you're only launching to that set. What we've been doing with a lot of my clients is a bit of a combination of that, meaning we are still emailing the whole list, but maybe the whole list only gets whatever, 3 or 4. And then we're targeting subsets within that. And then maybe the people who like came to the training are getting 7. And then maybe the people who clicked are getting 9. I'm just making up numbers. Okay, right? Like those aren't. But we're really trying to get more details in how we target. And of course, this isn't for everybody, but like, especially if you have a bigger list and a bigger audience, this is really, really, really helpful because technically we're trying to get those people to do somewhat different things, right? So for example, if we have this whole big part of the list that like hasn't even clicked and maybe aren't familiar with the offer yet, like all we want them to do is click, right? We don't even need them to buy it. We don't even need to convince them about buying. Like we need to get them over to a page or seeing what they could buy. Then say we have this other segment where we're like, oh, they are clicking. They do know. We actually do need to do more conversion work there. Then say we have another segment where it's like, oh, they've clicked several times and they still haven't bought. Like there's probably objections there, right? And a lot of times we're trying to do that all at once. And that can work, don't get me wrong, but what I've been seeing some success with clients is just being a lot more intentional and targeted with those. I'm not saying this is new or revolutionary, right? Like email targeting that, but I also think in an age and stage where people are much less likely to open an email, it is really helpful because we're not like burning out the list and we're really trying to just get them to do one thing. That's something I really like notice a lot is when we can hyperfixate on like, what is the one thing we want someone to do here? So much easier to get them to do it. When we're like, well, we kind of want to overcome objections, but we also wanted them to get to the sales page and we also it gets hard. It's just like, I think we talked about that last week with social, right? Like when you know the one thing you want to have happen, it's much easier to have that thing happen. I think this is another example of that. And so if you are launching, if you are selling an offer, that's something to think about is like, what are the different segments of your list? What different places are they at? And instead of writing 9 emails, say for like your total list, what if you still wrote 9, but 3 were for your total list and 3 were segmented to people that we just like, needed to warm up a little bit more. And 3 were segmented to like people that were pretty engaged, but had a job. Like that might give you a totally different outcome than just 9 across the board. So again, this may be right for some people and it may not be right for others, but that is something that we've been testing with a few clients. And I think why it's so helpful too is because it's like really good data from it, meaning like, okay, all we wanted this segment to do was this. Did they do it? Like the data from that helps and you can like learn really quickly that way. Hey, Lace, good to see you. Okay, let's see what our next thing is. And obviously if you have questions about any of this, feel free to type them, let me know. Happy to go deeper. I'm just trying to kind of give like general overview of like, oh, these conversations are happening and are interesting. This is sort of a hard pivot. I feel like it has been like definitely a conversation. Hi, Adrian, good to see you. Speaking my language with email segmentation, right? Like none of these things are new or revolutionary, but I do think like it's easy to forget how meaningful these things are, right? And then you're like, oh yeah, that actually makes a really big difference. Like, let's do more of that. The next thing, again, kind of a hard pivot, but that I feel like I've been talking to clients about a lot is how much what we're doing with the money we make matters. Again, somewhat obvious, yet important conversation. I feel like what I see happen in the online space a lot of times is that people get so hyper fixated on their business doing everything for them, right? Like they're like, it has to be like so fulfilling and so this and like endlessly scalable and be able to make me a completely unlimited amount of money and be passive and this and that and that. And it puts so much pressure on the business that it makes it really hard for the business to check all these boxes. And then it makes someone more likely to like change a bunch of stuff in their business or more unhappy with their business. And it can become this whole thing. And what I really see as like the antidote to that sometimes is like, are you having good profit? And then are you doing good things with that profit? So that, like, yes, the business is like one part of your money making strategy, but it's not the entirety of it. Um, because when it's the entirety of it, like it needs to check like 53 boxes sometimes for people. And like it can't always, or it can, but it has to be like over a long period of time. And so if you're like, listen, the check my business needs to do is profit. And if I can get that profit and then I can invest that, guess what? I start to have passive income. Guess what? I start to have like unlimited options. Guess what? I start to see that money growing without me having to do a lot more. Like that gets really exciting. Um, and it doesn't make it so that you don't still want to grow and scale. Like that's not what I'm saying, but I think it makes it so that you can see how the money you're taking out of the business actually really matters. Like it's not just about like making money and then reinvesting all of it so you can make as much as quickly as humanly possible in the business, right? Like that is a fallacy in many ways. And I don't mean that you shouldn't reinvest or that you can't make money from your business, but I mean the idea that like if you just keep reinvesting all of it, at some point it will pay off so big. Like maybe, but that's probably like an outlier more than the rule. So if you're like, cool, I do want to take some profit and I want to do something with that profit, you will often feel so much better about your strategy, about what you're doing, about what you're making, because you're seeing that even like this much profit from the business can amount to this much passive income. Like, and it really just starts to make sense where you're like, the business is a vehicle for me to take home great profit. And then that great profit is another vehicle for other investments, passive, whatever. Does that make sense? I feel like I don't always hear that talked about quite enough in our space. And I think that, again, it is not bad to count on your business. It is not bad to like want it to grow and scale. Like, obviously, all of that is 100% yes. But like, what can happen is when it feels like the business has to do everything all the time, not only just in terms of the money, but also in terms of like, even like the fulfillment and the satisfaction, whatever. The money thing helps with that so much because you're like, cool, I can build the business how I want to build it because if I can get X profit out of it, I know I can invest X and Y. Like I try to talk about this a lot because I think this is really, really true to like how I've thought about business as a going one-on-one. Like I wasn't just like, oh my God, I can't have a one-on-one business because it has to be endlessly scalable so I can make as much as I possibly want. I've thought about it like, okay, I need to take enough money out of this business so I can invest it really well, so I can have them like, as much money as I want, like as the business grows, as I get closer, if I want to have an early retirement, all of those things. And I always have talked about how I was like a millionaire before I ever made $1 million in a year in online business. And like, this is how, is because it's about what you're doing with the money. And so I just like always am having that conversation with clients. Like if you know me, I love an investment calculator. Like I love to go, okay, if you made X and you invested X a month, how much would that get you in 5 years? Right. And like really helping people see that because sometimes it's like, way better than like what they're even thinking would get, like if they built a course, what it would get them. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's not wrong to like build a course if that's how you want to grow your business, but it's wrong if you're doing it because you feel forced to, because you think that's the only way that you could possibly ever make passive income. It's not. Like investment strategy is a way to make that, like build the business you want, figure out what profit you need, grow from it. If you want it to be an unlimitedly scalable business, great, but do it because that's what you want to do. Don't do it because like you think that's the only way that you'll ever, whatever, get passive income or grow your income, like, or grow your wealth. It's not. It's just not. Hi, Kristen. It's good to see you. Um, I just can't say enough about that. I feel like I should just do a whole separate live stream on that, but truly. it will make you feel so different in your business if you just literally are like, okay, I could make X profit and I could invest that. And if I invested that and got X% return in the next 5 years, X, like your whole mindset around business will shift. Trust me. Um, okay. The next one. I feel like this used to be like such a conversation in the online space, and then it like got so overblown, and then it almost like died down, and and then it was kind of eye rolly. But like, it's one of those things where it's like it depends on like how you think about this, but like business is actually supposed to be fun. I just think that that gets so lost in translation sometimes. Again, I feel like that was like such a conversation for a while, where it was like only about fun. And it was like, okay, no, but like sometimes we have to have like a strategy and occasionally we're gonna have to do stuff we don't want to do. But then like it sometimes it swings the other way where it's like, okay, business actually isn't that fun. So just like build all these funnels and then step outside of it and like make it so that you never have to be in your business and just have fun over here. And it's like there's a middle ground, right? Where like, of course, sometimes you have to like build in structure and do things that like you don't feel like doing. And also like you don't have to just like try to get out of your business. Like you have to figure out what's fun in your business and do more shit that's fun, right? Um, Adrian, this is one of my things. It's so funny. A lifestyle, like what actually a lifestyle business means is like literally one of the points I had on here. So I'm so excited to talk about that because I totally agree. Like it's not just about like what we're taking out of it. It's like thinking about it as a lifestyle business. I love that. Definitely gonna talk about that in a second because yes, so much yes. Um, But like, okay, yeah. So back to the thing. Business is supposed to be fun. Again, doesn't mean it's fun all day, every day. And if you're not doing something fun, you shouldn't have to do it. Of course not. But if you are building a business where you're like, my only goal is to not be doing this business, right? Or like to do as little as possible in this business, like you're probably not building the right business, in my opinion, right? Like you can have a business where you want to be specific about what you cap your hours on. You can like all of that is fair. But if you're like, I don't really enjoy this work, so I'm trying to build it so I can get out of it, it's probably not the right business for you to build, right? It's not both and, is it, right? Um, like it's always both and. I feel like I like that's just the one thing I could get tattooed on my forehead. But um like if you do not have fun most days in your business, it is time to stop and ask why. It is time to stop and look at what's there. It does not mean you have to change your whole business. Maybe something else is going on. Like maybe you have personal stuff going on. Maybe there's a story you're telling yourself. Who knows? But if you are not having fun most days and most of the time in those days in your business, we have to look at that. We have to be like, what is happening? Right? Because what ultimately is going to do all the things we talked about, like in terms of like get you the profit, get you the money, get you the investments that like change your life, are gonna look like you needing a business that you can sustain, right? And if you don't have a business that is fun, you probably don't have a business you can sustain because there are a lot of things that are hard about business, right? And there are a lot of reasons that it would be easy to tap out. And so if you're not enjoying it, there will be a point where it just doesn't make sense to keep going, where your brain is like, nope, 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 we're tapping out here, right? And so like it is supposed to be fun. Like that is the point, right? If not, go get a corporate job. Like if you're going to be miserable all day, go make it easy on yourself. You know, like go work for someone else. Go do all that. If you are going to work for yourself and you're going to take on everything that like has to be done, right? There, guess what? It's got to be fun. So for a lot of my clients, that looks like a few things. One, and these are just like specific conversations, right? One is like maybe it's not fun because of like the context of what you're doing. Maybe it's not fun because you don't feel supported. Maybe you don't have a great team. Maybe it feels like it's all on you and it's making it feel really, really not fun. Okay. That's like one thing. Okay, great. So we don't need to burn down the business. We need to fix why your team isn't supporting you. We need to fix why it feels so heavy and burdensome. We need to fix why it's all on your shoulders. Right. Or maybe like you have gotten fed this idea that there's only one business model that is like scalable or that works. And so you're doing that business model, but you actually don't like it. It's not that the messaging is off, or it's not that the context of what you're like teaching and talking about isn't working. Like you don't like the way that it's working, but you think you have to. that will make it not fun. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's not like any one specific thing. It's like there are a lot of things that could be making it not fun. But if you solve for that, you will be solving most of your big problems. If you don't solve for that, it will always feel like there's another little problem to solve and that it's never quite satiating. You'll be like, oh, well, maybe if this launch would have just gone a little bit better, I'd be having fun. Or maybe if I switch up my messaging a little, it will feel like you really want to get down to like, why am I not having fun and what needs to change? If you optimize for that, you will make more money in the launch, right? Because that will come across energetically. You will change how you're showing up. Your messaging will be more exciting because you're having fun doing it, you know? Um, to me, anytime a client is like, this does not feel fun, I'm like, huge red flag. What's up? It's not like, oh, interesting, we'll come back to that. Or like, oh yeah, it's just like, just power through it. It's like, stop. What is happening? Why? And it's not because I'm like, oh my gosh, this should all be fun. Like in a, I don't know, you get what I'm saying, in kind of this like light, airy way. It's like it literally makes everything else work. It makes it easier to do content. It makes it easier to show up. It makes it easier to sustain. It makes it easier to scale. It like literally every piece of what it takes to run a business is made better when you are having fun in it. Okay. Um, okay, another thing I feel like I've been working on with clients a lot lately. Thank you, Nova. Is we're just jumping, by the way. Like these are all, I did not put them in any like order that makes sense. Sorry. I just literally brain dumped. I was like, what are the conversations I had last week? Okay, so another thing that I feel like I've been working on with clients a lot that is making a really big difference, and I feel like I've talked about this a lot just because I see what a difference it's making. So some of you probably aren't going to be surprised to hear this, but like really dialing in on how you're teaching and pitching. Um, I feel like a lot of us, especially if we've been in business for a long time, can get very locked into like, oh, I've just kind of always talked about it this way. Or like, here's an example. I feel like we used to be very long-winded. Like, it used to be like people, like, the minimum people would do would be like a 90-minute webinar. That doesn't work in the way it used to anymore. Average webinar watch time is like under 45 minutes now. So if we're just continuing to be like, oh yeah, well, mine are always 90, we have to stop. We have to be like, wait, no, what? How do we dial in that teaching? How do we dial in that pitching? How do we actually make that way better? How do we optimize for that? And it's not like, okay, just throw it out, but it's like, how do we get it better? Or, like, for example, like challenges. I feel like people used to do like every day of a challenge was like an hour plus. It's like, no, how do we keep that shorter? How do we keep that dialed in? Same thing with like a pitch. It used to just be like, oh, I could just be like, look, here are all the things I'll teach you. Here are all the things you'll get. Anyway, buy my shit. Doesn't work that way anymore. Our brains have been so atrophied. I'm kidding, but not kidding, right? By like the quick scroll and whatever, we do not have an attention span to be sitting there having someone list out every module that they're going to teach us and like listening with rapt attention. Like it's just not how it is, right? And so instead of fighting that, or instead of going, well, that's how I've always done it, what's working is to go, how do we dial that in? How do we acknowledge attention spans have changed? How do we acknowledge that like what someone wanted then in terms of like information and value versus what they want now has like changed dramatically? And I think that can be especially hard for people that have been in business for a long time because there's such an element of like, well, this always worked before. And we're so scared to like give up something or like change something that worked before, or this is how we've done it. Like, I think there can be like a real fear of making those shifts when there's just sort of like this, standard there of like, well, I've always done a challenge this way, or like I always blah, blah, blah. And like it actually has gotten us sales before. But like what I've really been pushing my clients on is like, when like that does not mean it's getting you sales now. How do we optimize this? How do we make it better? Again, we're not like throwing out the baby with the bathwater, but like if you're giving hour plus trainings every single day for 5 days and you think that someone is going to engage enough to watch every single minute of that, like we're just living in a different world. And again, that doesn't mean what I said earlier doesn't stand of like smaller, warmer audience, but like we're actually sometimes making it harder for the audience to be warm because the barrier they have to jump is 5 hours of content, right? Like it's harder to get warm that way. And so we're just really looking at like how do we make a lot of these things better. And um, one of the rules I personally have on my team is if we ever find ourselves saying that's just how we've always done it, it's a huge red flag. Like if anybody says that to themselves or out loud or on a meeting or whatever, it's like huge red flag. No. So same with this kind of teaching and delivery. Well, that's just how I've always done webinars. That's just how I've always done challenges. That's just how I've always sold. Red flag, red flag. Unless we can justify why you are doing that now in this market, that is a problem. Does that make sense? Um, do you have clients who use private podcasts to do longer form sales education in lieu of one long training? And are you seeing it still working? Yes and yes, but I will say, I mean, obviously you know this, of course, Adrian, but like all of it is, nuanced. I I do have people that do this really well, but I would say for like the majority of the people, there's a step even perhaps before the private podcast. Like there's some kind of like easier, quick win sort of thing. That is getting them hyped to then go listen to this like longer form sales education content. Not everybody. I can think of a couple people that still go direct. But I think like even that sometimes needs a little bit of an interim now to like capture the attention and interest enough to do that. But I do really believe like that is so helpful because like the podcast version of it is so helpful because I can do it while I'm doing other things. Like for some of my clients, it really depends on audience too, but it's like, okay, this person is like a very, very, very busy human. If we can like allow them to consume this while they're doing other things versus trying to get them face to us on a webinar for 90 minutes, we're going to have a much easier time. For some of my clients, we've even tested like taking their webinar and then putting it on a private podcast afterwards to get people to listen more. So yes, but you get what I'm saying. Like I think there's nuance to that. Um, Okay, the next thing is what Adrian brought up earlier, and that is like what a lifestyle business actually is. I I feel like I sound like such a hater when I say this. But what did Adrian say? It's helpful to hear. I agree. I think a private pod or anything long form is more helpful as a value add after they opt into something else. Yeah, yeah. I feel like a little bit of a hater when I say this, and I want to like really context this that like I I do not think scaling a business is bad. That is literally the context of what I spend my days helping clients with is like, how do you grow this business? How do you scale? How do you increase profit faster or revenue faster than you're increasing expenses? Like all of it. Yeah. However, I feel like our industry just has this absurd obsession with the idea of this endlessly scalable business. And I think that it harms so many women. I really do. And I don't say that lightly. Like, I really believe it is harmful because it feels like the only thing we should want. And anything else is like less than, not good enough. Da, da, da. But we really have to think about like the type of business we're building. And by the way, I've built both. Like, I have built and sold a business. And then I have like very much a lifestyle business with a lit up life, right? So this is coming from like knowledge of both aspects. Um, a lifestyle business is like, what do you want to take home? What do you want your lifestyle to be? I.e., like, how many hours do you want to work? What do you want that to look like? What do whatever. And like, what work do you like doing? You know, so that you can have the lifestyle you want, both in terms of like money, time, and like fulfillment or joy or fun or whatever, right? If you're building that business, you don't need it to be endlessly scalable. In fact, that's not that relevant there because most people that build a lifestyle business aren't building for endless scalability or to sell, right? If you're building a business over here that you want to fully take yourself out of and potentially sell, of course, that's a different thing. But when you're trying to layer them both on top of each other and build this like lifestyle business slash personal brand, and then this thing that like is a total machine that barely needs you, it is going to feel kind of crunchy. Like, because they kind of have different objectives, right? Um, so I feel like for a lot of my clients, what I'm kind of reminding them is like, hey, like scaling is not bad, but like the idea of a business that can scale versus a business that has total, complete, and unlimited scalability are different things, right? And so if you want to optimize for that, then actually what sometimes is happening is you're giving up lifestyle for a period of time to build that, right? Like we have a friend who built a really, really successful SaaS and sold it. And I assure you, gave up lifestyle for several years to make that happen and get that off the ground. And again, I'm not saying everybody's journey has to be that, but like, I think you guys get what I'm saying. Like, there is a difference systematically in like what you are trying to build. And I think what most people want is a lifestyle business, and what most people feel pressure to build is unlimited scalability, and they butt up against each other, right? And so what I'm often asking my clients is that, like, what is the real goal here? Like, are you wanting this to be a lifestyle business? And if so, what are the lifestyle markers? Or are we talking about a totally different thing and you want like unlimited scalability is actually more important for you than lifestyle? And if so, that's totally cool. But like, we have to be on the same page that you're probably not just working 10 hours a week, right? Um, I don't feel like I'm saying anything crazy, but I feel like that's just not the conversation most of the time. And like, I just think it is so much better for us to think about it like that. Like, all right, so it's like for me at A Little Life, like I know what do I want to take home? Like I literally know like an exact number there. It doesn't mean it never fluctuates or whatever, but like I know like, hey, to have the lifestyle I want, here's a number. Here are the hours. Here's the work I want to be doing. It checks all of those boxes. I don't give a flying fuck. um, it quadruples. Like maybe it will. My business has grown a lot over time, but like that's not the most important thing to me. And like it's not because I lack ambition. I mean, maybe I do. Fuck, I don't know. It's just because I'm getting what I want. Like, do you know what I mean? And if what I want changes, that's totally fine. You know? Love this combo. Yes to all of this. Ah, lifestyle markers. Love that. Yeah, right? Like, I just really feel like when you really talk to most business owners, in my experience, and I go, what do you really want? It's the lifestyle markers that they're saying. But then when they talk about it, they'll go, but that's not, completely scalable. Or like, I could hit a ceiling there. And you're like, wait, but like everything you just want is all about these lifestyle markers. What? And it's not even their own thoughts. It's just the industry. It's just noise. You know what I mean? This is like such a random example, but um, maybe I should say it, maybe I should. What did I say? Um, Knowing those benchmarks though helps take the pressure off of just endlessly trying to scale. Right, totally. Yes, exactly, Adrian. You also have a toddler and maybe you'll want something different in 10 to 15 years. 1000%. And that's sort of the value of a lifestyle business is you get to decide and you get to change it, right? And like you're allowed to change your mind at any point, always. Like I think that's such an important point. But also, you have to be like really clear that you've changed your mind. Like that's how we keep getting what we want. I'm actually going to do a live stream next week about this like really big thing I changed my mind on in my life and like these big changes happening. And like it is such a departure in terms of like changing my mind, and also like you're allowed to change your mind at any point, but I'm getting what I want because I was willing to change my mind, right? Um, Oh, okay. I know what I was going to say. This is sort of like a random tangent, but I've been thinking about this a lot. And hi, I guess it's getting talked about here. Okay, but um, I'm a TikTok fan. If you guys don't know, I love it. I love TikTok from a user perspective. And there is this girl that is like very popular on TikTok, and she had a bachelorette party recently. And for the bachelorette party, she had a company sponsor the entire bachelorette. They got her a private jet. They like decked it all out. She also got paid for the bachelorette. She got the whole thing comped, blah, blah, blah. And people were just like losing their minds over this. Like, oh my God, like imagine you get like a private jet for your bachelorette. Imagine like all of this getting paid. Like, and you're getting paid. That's so insane. And I was like, that is so amazing. And also, like, everyone misses the trade-offs with that, meaning like her bachelorette is now not just for her, it's like commoditized, right? And then also like she has to work the whole time. Like I guarantee there's several assistants with her. I guarantee there was months and months of planning about deliverables in advance. I guarantee that like there are many factors going into that. That does not just make this like, oh, a fun bachelorette on a private jet. It makes it a work trip too. And like for one person, that trade-off's worth it. They're like, oh, like someone hears that and goes, what do I care? I'll fucking plan. I'll do months of planning. I'll fly out assistants. I'll make videos the whole time if that's how I get to live my life and that's how I make my money. Great. And for someone else, it would be like, oh, well, when you put it like that, that isn't what I would want. Like that doesn't sound appealing to me at all. But I think what we miss is that every single thing has trade-offs. A lifestyle business has trade-offs, and a business with unlimited scalability has trade-offs. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say. And I feel like the more I like ask clients, like, what do you really want here? What is true? Like, it doesn't mean we're like, which thing has no trade-offs? It just means we're like, which thing is what you want? Which thing is true to you? Those are often quite different than like what looks good online. Again, like this bachelorette looks really good, right? And for some people, that would be really good. For other people, it looks really good, but if they actually got into the weeds of it, they would hate every ounce of it. You know what I mean? So, anyway, just a conversation about like, what are you picking? Do you actually like it? Do you like the trade-offs of it? Yeah, of course, with a lifestyle business, there probably is a cap at some point. Is that okay? Like for me, that like I'm fine with that trade-off. For someone else, maybe they're not. For me, I don't want to trade off on time right now. For someone else, maybe they do. Like, and I've even had different stages of that in my business. Like Adrienne said, I have a toddler right now. Like that's not where I'm at. Maybe it was at a different point. So there are things that are worth thinking about there. Okay. What else do I want to say? Um, I think another piece that is so alive for everyone in this industry, and I'm probably only going to talk about it for a few minutes because I feel like it's a whole other live stream. But obviously, I think AI is just such a thing on everyone's mind and like such a polarizing topic, such a topic of conversation. It's coming up all the time everywhere. Um, and I really think everyone has kind of like their own stances here. I don't think this is like a right or wrong. I really think this is like a some people are very pro, some people are very against, some people are very middle ground. Um, I'm not trying to push my clients in any one way or the other, but I will say I think it is very similar to the conversation we were just having around business model is that there are just benefits and trade-offs there too, right? Like someone would tell you like it's never worth it to use AI because the trade-off in your content is not worth it. Like the fracture and trust, the blah, 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 blah. Someone else would say, sure, using AI for content might fracture trust a tiny bit with your audience, but it's still worth it for the amount of content that you'll be able to put out to overcome that, right? Like there's just sort of like different sides of that coin and different opinions. And I think the truth is like none of us actually know for sure, where it's going to go or what that's going to look like. But I did just want to normalize like what a conversation it is because I feel like I think it's so tempting to feel like everyone else has it all figured out. And I think most of the people that are selling AI will position it like that, like here's a whole AI team or whatever. And it seems like it is like they have just figured out every single thing on earth when really it's like probably some like well-trained chatbots, you know, like that's right. That's like where we're at with that. And that's not bad. But it's like we have to, I think in the AI realm, we really have to separate out marketing from like execution, just like with anything else, right? You can market any business model as perfect, but the execution of it will show you there are trade-offs. You can market any like AI stuff as perfect in the end all be all, and the answer is there's trade-offs to that. And like it doesn't make them bad. It just means you have to be in touch enough with your own business and your audience and your own belief system to pick your own trade-offs. And I really think that's super, super, super important. Um, and like I think that that is to me like that's part of my job as a coach is to help someone figure out what that is for them and navigate them. It's not to put my belief set on them. Now, if a client gives me a document that's like 100% written by AI or something, I'll push back on that and be like, hey, so like I don't hear you in this at all. But I won't say, hey, literally never use AI, right? Um, I think there are like so many use cases for it. And I think that, absolutely like there is a time and place for that in our business. I think it is an amazing tool. I think we'd be crazy not to be using it. And also, I think that like where the human element is on that is still yet to be determined. And I think it's fracturing the industry quite a bit in terms of like, we're going to have one group over here that's like aggressively AI and one group over here that's like aggressively human, right? Um, and we'll see what happens there. But my point in saying that is I like as a coach, I do not have like one firm stance of like you use it or you don't use it. I think like there are plenty of really good ways to use it. And I also think there are probably places to be like really discerning about that. And all of that really depends on like what your audience is, what your trade-offs are. But it is a giant conversation. I think it's like one of those things too, where just like team is always a giant conversation where it can feel like somehow everyone else has team figured out but me. And it's like, no, team's a big conversation for everyone. Or somehow everyone has AI completely perfected in their business and I don't. Nope, AI is a big conversation for everyone. Like that's just something I wanted to like really normalize. Um, and that like it's we so much of our work is separating out marketing from reality. Hey Eleanor, good to see you. All right, let me see if there's anything else on my list here that I wanted to say. Um, the last one that I wanted to say is like, I'm trying to think of like the best way to explain this. Like, okay, here's the way I would explain it. Very small amounts of mindset work make very big shifts. That's how I would explain. I feel like with so many of my clients, like I used to be like such a proponent of like journal for an hour a day, da, da, da. And like, let me tell you what, I have seen some people have some insane fucking results from doing like I'm gonna journal an hour a day for the next 30 days kind of thing. And also, a lot of my clients have just like are in a different season of life where that is like not the reality for them. Nor is it for me, right? I journal most days, but it's definitely not an hour. um, so my point in saying all that is like, I think that this can be one of those things that feels like it either has to be so big or it's not worth it, or we have to be like massively working this mindset block or just like off the thing. What I have been talking to clients so much about is how like 5 minutes a day of like programming your brain, 5 minutes a day of like putting in what you want it to be, 5 minutes a day of like checking in with how you're feeling, 5 minutes a day of processing, like that kind of stuff goes such a long way. And I think when we're high achievers, it's so easy to be like, if I can't go all in, it's not worth it. Like if I can't, whatever, journal for an hour a day and also visualize and have this perfect morning routine and blah, blah, blah. Like I just can't right now. Like that's not true. I've definitely had a season in my business where I've like told myself that story, and I will tell you it was the hardest season in my business, hands down. Um, the seasons in my business where I'm like, cool, if I just get out my paper and write a page today, I'm gonna feel way better. I do. So just like a little last reminder on that, like, um, it really makes a big difference. And like really big results can come from changing how you think about things, like really, really big. I just had a client have like a 250K month, right? And she had the hardest shit happening at that time. Like it was a tough one. And she just like literally had to be like, who am I and how do I think about this? Who am I and how do I think about this? Who am I and how do I think about this? And when you can go, who am I and how do I think about this? As this like highest version of yourself and you show up as that, like it is so insane what can come from that. And like, trust me, she did not have time to be doing that every day. And she had plenty of mindset wobbles, but it's like she kept orienting to like this gets to be mine. This can be mine, right? And like we have to reinforce that for ourselves every day because if we don't, our brains will run wild most of the time. So such an important like reminder, like those little things will absolutely like make or break so much of the other things you're putting into place, right? Like what a fucking bummer it would have been for her to like have such a hard season and do all this work and then not come out with that result because she decided that like it wasn't going to work anyway. You know what I mean? Like fuck that. So a little mindset work makes a big difference. Okay, I think that's all I got. I mean, obviously there is always more, but if there's anything that you guys have questions on or you like heard from this that you want me to go deeper on or talk about more, obviously let me know. I'm happy to do that. And yeah, I hope it is just like a normalizing reminder that like everybody needs all of it. Like sometimes we need the reminder of like it's just a little bit of a mindset work. Sometimes we need the reminder that like yeah, team does feel hard for everybody, or yeah, there are a lot of big questions to answer around AI right now, or like yeah, it actually does matter if your business doesn't feel fun, right? Like it runs the gamut, but like having someone that's there to like have these conversations with, be a mirror, give you permission, all of that is like such a difference maker. So get coaching on it too. Okay, I hope you guys have a beautiful week. I will be back next week. I have something really fun and personal that I'm going to share next week. I feel like I've been in this like really fun, crazy personal season. I just want to tell you guys about it. And like, yeah, it's like a really fun manifestation story. It's a story about changing your mind and letting that be okay. So I hope you guys will join me next week. Oh, whole profit strategy. Let me write that down. Love that. Profit strategy. Thank you, Adrian. Um, okay, I really, really appreciate you guys being here, and I will see you next Monday. Bye, y'all.